What's going on, guys? Welcome back. This is another episode of Actually Anything. It's the podcast that's actually about anything. And now today, I got my boy, Lars Jameson, and he came all the way from Massachusetts. But first, he went to New Jersey, and that's because that's where you're from, so I guess you figured, why not? And what'd you do again, like, before you came here? You went to a festival, right? For your friend?
I came down to Jersey first just to touch base with one of my friends from my hometown. And then we both went down to Philadelphia. I got a couple friends in a band. They throw a festival in Philly every year called Sensorium. And it's this really cool summer party. 3 stages, great music, a bunch of installations that cater to the senses, and just genuinely awesome people all around. It was good.
Yeah.
I shot about 8,000 photos at the event.
That's insane. And like on 3 different cards, you said, right?
Yeah, I filled 3 cards.
That's insane. That's gonna be a lot of work when he goes back home. He's gonna have to do
it's gonna be
a lot of editing, a lot of
night.
you know.
All
it's
night
mostly
editing.
gonna be deleting though, right? That's kind of what I do every time I take pictures. Like
no, I already went.
No?
I already went through them, and like there's, I'd say at least like 80% of them are keepers.
Oh, good. All right. Cool. That makes it probably easier, to be honest with you. So Lars and I, we actually met back at Seton Hall, and it was for a short while because I know you didn't stay too long. You were there for 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Now, you originally went in 2008, right?
Yep.
Which is really funny because at the time, I just graduated elementary school, and you were just about going in, you know? So because I just realized, because you told me before, I didn't know you were that much older than me, 29. Yeah. Because I'm 25. But, yeah, and then, like, fortunately, you went back around the same time when I was there. I think it was, like, my freshman year or sophomore year.
Yep.
And we met in the Spanish class, which, you know, kind of sucked, but we managed to get through it. And the second year, we managed to get through it again. I think the best times we used to have there were just chilling on campus. You had your ukulele. You would show me your music you were making, because he actually makes music himself, like, electronically. And, like, how's that going right now?
I've actually been working on like my first real release
Album, right?
Yeah, like an EP, and it's been fun. Like I just got back into it in like, I don't know, let's say, when did tax returns go out?
April?
It was like early April. I picked up Ableton Push 2
Cool.
for like $800, and I had already had experience from back then when we were at school working with the program Ableton. So I kind of
use that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I kind of dived back into it and started relearning because it's a new version. It's Ableton 10, and started learning the ropes and getting comfortable with it. And then just recently, I started laying out track after track. Like every day, I'm working for at least a few hours, but usually like 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been refining my sound, finding things that work for my style. And right now I'm sitting on probably about like 2 hours worth of material. It's just a matter of getting it perfect, laying it out in a way where everything's balanced, mastered. And I don't have the money to pay somebody else to master my shit for me. So it's kind of like, crash course in learning how to do stuff like that.
I was just going to say, I think like you just doing it all yourself is only going to make you better at it anyway. So in the long run, it'll pay off, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It will save you, maybe it'll save you time so you could work on other stuff, but,
Yeah, it was funny because
editing is always the most annoying thing, even with video.
It was funny because I started working on it, and like I was making a lot of progress, and then I kind of hit a wall, and I was like, I need to do something a little different with this. I need to add a little flavor to it. So I waited for a sale and went out and bought a guitar, and I don't know how to play the guitar. I know how to play the bass guitar, which translates a little bit, but I don't know how to play the guitar. But I've just been forcing it and like just doing it and making it work, and like finding chords that work for what I'm doing, or little like solo noodly bits.
Yeah.
And like it's been interesting. It's been a learning experience. I am taking lessons, so I like actually get decent with it.
You have a teacher?
No, I'm using the Fender Play app.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
Fender makes an app where you pay a subscription fee, but you get unlimited access, and there's like lessons you can do over the course of like 10 minutes and then just practice it throughout the day. It's really good for like bite-sized chunks of information. They've got bass guitar, music theory, ukulele,
That's
all sorts
dope.
of stuff on there. It's worth it. I don't have the time to dedicate to driving to a place
it's
like
a
a
lot of
studio
work.
for
Yeah.
lessons or anything like that. So
And you're probably saving a lot of money too by
Yeah.
getting an actual teacher.
yeah.
Oh, so you have do you have any friends that would teach you possibly?
No,
Or, like-
because all the friends I have that play guitar play it professionally, and I'm not bothering them while they're touring.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they don't have time to like teach like an average,
Yeah,
average
it
Joe
would
with a
just.
guitar.
I would feel like I'm putting them out if I asked them to do something like that.
At what age did you originally get into making music like electronically like that? Was it a while ago? High school or?
Making music in general started when I was 14. My best friend, his name was Brett. He and I were inseparable, and we spent every waking moment together. We were into the same music and everything. And he got a guitar for his 13th birthday, or for Christmas that year, I'm not sure. And I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to learn too. He was taking lessons, and he was getting real good real fast. And I really wanted to join him on that musical journey. So for my 14th birthday, which came shortly after, I got a Fender Squier Stratocaster, and I tried to learn the guitar, but then he and I decided we wanted to start a band, so we went around, we found ourselves a drummer, we found ourselves a singer, and we needed a bass player. And because we figured, hey, we don't really need two guitars, but we do need someone on bass, I decided to pick up bass, and that's what I focused all my effort on. So all throughout high school, we played in like the Battle of the Bands and like other functions and
Local bars and stuff.
yeah, it was just fun stuff.
Anything to get your name out there helps. It
Yeah,
works.
and we had fun with it. We won a couple competitions and like threw our own event, and it was a good time. And then everybody split for college. We all went to different schools, and so I didn't have anybody to make music with anymore. And that's the thing is, like, Brett and I had like this deep connection. Like, we would be jamming out, like trying to come up with new material, and we could just like lock eyes and know exactly where to take it next. Like, just follow the lead of the other in, and like we just had this really good chemistry musically that I didn't think I'd ever find with anyone else. So when he passed away in 2008, I kind of gave up music because I tried playing with other people, and
Just
I
didn't have the same chemistry, right?
was just getting pissed off at them because they didn't know
Yeah.
how to work with me, and it was like, it's not their fault. Brett played with me for like 8 years,
Right.
you know, like.
So you guys kind of built this, bond over the music, and it's just no one else was able
Yeah,
to
so I
compete,
just
guess,
I just didn't vibe on doing it with other
Yeah,
guitarists and stuff.
yeah.
So a few years, like it was a few year break. I had a lot of shit going on that put me in a really dark place, and like when I finally came out the other side of what I was going on with then, I was going back to school, and there was a talent show coming up, and I was like, well, I kind of miss playing music for people, so like
Wait, the talent show was at Seton Hall?
no, this was at a
Oh.
community college.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I kind of miss playing for people, so I signed up for it, and I had like a month to get something together. And so I knew about Ableton from a couple of the bands I listened to. They use it on stage, and I always wondered, why do they have computers on stage? What are they using the computers for? So I looked into what they were using. They were using Ableton. It's a music production program geared towards
Cool.
live performances. And so I downloaded that and started making beats. I mean, it wasn't that simple. It's a really complicated program, and I still barely know what the fuck I'm doing in it, but at least now what I make sounds like music. But it was interesting. I entered that talent show with a song I made that had a quote from Donnie Darko open it up, where he says, "Every living creature on earth dies alone." And played that. Everybody loved it, and I maybe continued doing this for like another 2 or 3 months after that, and then it kind of fell off. And then I had more shit go down in my life. I went back to school for real. I had a couple issues where I had to leave school for a little again. Took care of those issues, went back to school again. And when I went back to school again, I was up in Massachusetts. And I met a girl there. And we started seeing each other. And she knew I made music in the past, and she was like, "Why don't you do that anymore?" And I was like, "Well, you know, like I'm not really that good at it, and I have no one to do it with, and you know, like I miss it, but it's not something that I am capable of dedicating a shit ton of time to right now." But it got me thinking, it got the juices flowing, and I was like, you know what? Let's get back into Ableton. So
you have the program at home, right?
Yeah. So last year, I downloaded the program, and I didn't really start. I kind of messed around with it and was like learning the ropes, but I didn't really start producing in full until I got the push in April. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a long, wild ride, and I hope it actually goes further. But you know, that's not the purpose of making art. You don't make art to get famous. You don't make art to impress people. You don't make art to show off. You make art because you want to use your voice. And if people want to listen and respect your voice, that's awesome. But if they don't,
Absolutely.
fuck them. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I, at school, and I've talked about it before, it was my first time ever really getting to use like Pro Tools and Logic and all that stuff. You know, at first it's overwhelming, you know it is, but you know, once you get taught how to use it and then just working on it for homework and projects, it ends up being like one of the most fun things like that's really out there, you know. And I don't know like why originally. I guess because I knew you could take a minor and I didn't know what to take, and then I just saw that music technology was actually new at the school.
Yeah, I was gonna do that too.
Yeah,
and
the
then
teachers were nice too, you know. I liked it.
I was gonna do that too, and then I went into the room where they had all the equipment, and I realized I had all the same equipment at home, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of teaching myself this. So since I'm paying money to go here, I'm gonna minor in something different.
What did you minor in?
I ended up majoring in journalism and minoring in political science. Two things that I'm sure most people wouldn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole right now.
You did probably not. Yeah.
And I'm one of them. Not because I don't care. What's going on right now is bullshit. But I don't want to pigeonhole myself into a long career of lambasting politicians. So I'd rather make art, and that's why I got into photography when I left school.
Is that when you first got into it?
No, I first got into it as a kid, but that's when I first started taking it seriously. Like,
same. Well, same, because I got my camera after I graduated, and then you know, fortunately, because I know you would tell me, like, you know, especially after Seton Hall, you didn't really get to stay in touch with a lot of people, but like we always did, unfortunately. And I think it's mostly because we always got to talk about photography. You know, I would reach out to you sometimes about, you know, advice of like how to shoot better. When I wanted new equipment, you would tell me, you know, like what you recommended, and just like overall, you know, better ideas for me how to do photography. And I think just by doing that, it just helped us stay closer. And then I've visited him a few times, I think twice or three times. I came up to you. One year we went to a music festival. That was pretty fun. I'm trying to go up next month because we're going to go hiking, possibly at Mount Washington. I thought it was Mount Washington.
No, it's by Mount Washington. It's Mount Lafayette.
Oh, okay.
It's actually, we're going to be doing the 3 mountains in a circle there.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, the highest mountain I ever did was Mount Monadnock.
I just did that one not too long ago. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Beautiful.
When I that's what I did last year before I went to your house. I went to my friend Mitch's in Maine. Or New Hampshire, New Hampshire, then went to you. That was cool. It's beautiful up there in the fall, I can imagine. I haven't been up there yet in the fall. And you've been up in Massachusetts for quite some time now.
6 years?
Yeah. Do you find, like, you think you're better off there? Do you miss Jersey, or?
There are aspects I miss about Jersey, but I'm going to let you all in on a little secret. Massachusetts is a lawless motherfucking land. You can do whatever you want.
Anytime? Anywhere?
Like, for instance, like there's no in Massachusetts, at least the area I live, there's no such thing as a speeding ticket. Like they don't exist. I've never seen one personally or heard of one. I don't believe in them. I don't think they actually have them.
At the festival too, because it was in Maine, they had bud for sale and edibles and all this wax and plenty of pieces and all this stuff you could try. They even had a little dab corner, so you could remember that so like there would be a band playing and Pat would be like, all right, let's go to the dab table first, and I was like, okay, go there, and then like maybe like for not even like 5 minutes leave, and then you just go to the stage. Like
yeah, that festival was like absurdly chill. Like
it really is,
every
man.
year I went, there was this one vendor specifically that had a dish with 6 bowls in it, and he would have 6 different types of concentrate out, and you could go up and take a free dab of any that he had laid out. And like, I don't mean like just like a tiny little dab, like you could literally go up to that fucking dish and just go and take as much of it as you fucking
like
wanted.
You're drinking
and,
like soup or something.
yeah, and like they did not care. That I saw that guy the first year I went, I think I saw that guy like 25 times a day. I bought stuff off him too, so he didn't care. But like,
right, if you
I don't
kept
think he
going
would
there
care.
mooching and that, yeah,
I don't think he would have cared anyway.
They get so much, and like it's
well,
not even like.
I talked to him and he's like, "You don't understand. Like I do this, and it brings in so much fucking business. Like it's chump change. What I lose on putting out a gram of each of these for people to do that shit, like I make back so much more."
Right, it makes sense. I mean, it definitely draws you in, you know, and,
yeah,
then,
well,
and then you're
exactly.
like, oh, what's that? By the way, I'm doing this.
And that's the thing is, if you have product that people are actually going to genuinely like, they'll try it and they'll say, I can't get this somewhere else, I'm going to buy it.
I remember when I got the Tangy. It was like, I think like tangerine, like orange flavored. That was so good. I actually still have the bag in my room because it was like in such a, I had a description of it. It said medical cannabis. It was like in a green bag. And it had the paper talking about like what it was and the strain. I think I don't know. It was pretty cool. So I kept that. I was like, you know what? Why not? That's a cool.
Some of the best concentrates that I've ever seen in my life were at those festivals. Like,
yeah, dude.
Clear, no purge bubbles. Like everything just looked amazing. Even when I was in California, finding like clear or white wax was like pretty hard.
Speaking about California, man, you're trying to move back out there. Cause I remember, when did you go visit? It was like only a few months ago, right?
I went out there in September and came back in February.
Okay. It was.
Yeah. It was a trial run to see, 1, if I would like moving out there, and 2, if I could even afford to live out there with the type of work I pull in. And I think I want to go back, so I'm looking at making another attempt in January. Got a few people helping me out looking for jobs, and it should hopefully go well. And then fuck you, East Coast, I'm out.
I honestly, I want to do the move too, because we've been talking about it, him and I, because we both do photography. We're both passionate about it, and I'm sure if we go out there, we're bound to meet more photographers, or you never know, maybe another friend from here will come out with us too, and maybe he'll be a photographer hopefully. And we'll try to make this team and just do, just advertise all over the state, wherever we can, and just say, hey, like, we're offering our services. And I feel like the more people you have on board, just, we could start off just you and I, maybe one other person, and then see if we can get more people. And before you know it, you have a whole, team doing photography, and that'll be really fun.
Yeah, my long-term goal is to have a team of about 6 photographers and maybe 3 or 4 videographers, and basically travel around the country covering different events like conventions, festivals. I
know you like shooting live events, like concerts, right?
Events are
me too. That's kind of like
I flourish in events.
Like
if it's a 12-hour day or longer, and I'm shooting the entire time, and I'm moving around the whole time,
paid,
I fucking love that shit.
I know, right?
It sounds insane, but like...
No, it's fun.
No.
I like it too.
Like, make me work hard. I like it.
No, seriously, just like anything to keep me busy, man. Better than just doing nothing all day.
Like, you want me to stand on my feet in the same spot shooting like the same scene? Like, sure, I'll do that, but that's gonna be boring. But like, I would
Right.
literally,
If I get to move around, you know.
anything at like a major event, I'd be like, yeah, I'm on board.
Well, even at like a concert that's like general admission, you can, walk around. One of the main reasons I stay in one spot is because if you go back, because like usually if you want to get into another spot, you have to you can't really just go sideways. You have to kind of like go out of the crowd and go back in, but then you do that,
No,
and then you lose your spot.
I don't do that.
Right,
I just
so-
fight through the fucking crowd, and I
Okay.
shove my camera
Well,
in their face and hope they get the point.
Well, I hope there's what's it called? A mosh pit. Only because when there's a mosh pit, big circle opens. Some
I'm just
idiot's
saying,
like, duh, duh.
I'm
And
just
then
saying-
I just quickly before it starts, I run through it. So then I get to go through, and then I'm like already on the other side of the venue if it's small.
Yeah, I'm
Just
just
get
saying,
through
if
there,
I ever got
and then-
caught in a mosh pit with my camera, I would like knock somebody out. Probably multiple people. Yeah, you're not hitting my shit.
Yeah. Even me, man. Like my stuff isn't the most expensive, but I would punch a bitch, you know? Like if they got our cameras are our life, bro. Because like, you gotta think of it this way: it's not just for fun; it's for work, and it
That's how
gives
I
us
make-
money.
that's how I make my money.
Yeah, you make a
Yeah.
living. So that's kind of as if, say, if you I don't know.
That's why you carry a weapon when you're by yourself in a crowded area where you might get mugged.
Exactly. But the most annoying part about it is that even if someone did steal your shit, I feel like 70% of the time or 80% of the time, the person's not even going to know what to fucking do with the shit anyway that he has.
It's
And he's just going to sell it, and
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, what the hell?
Somebody would steal my fucking $3,000 camera and sell it for like $100 and be like, yeah, I got cracked today.
Yeah. My shit got stolen. I think I've mentioned it probably before too, in another type of video vlog. That sucked. I got my lens stolen.
Oh, I've been surrounded. I've literally
Yeah?
been surrounded by people who are threatening me
Where
to
at?
give up my shit in LA.
In LA.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
So how do you get out of it?
I ran across the street as quickly as I
You're
could.
pretty fast, right?
I was in the middle of shooting a time lapse, so I just grabbed the
Oh,
camera and the
fuck
tripod,
me.
and I just
Isn't it hard to
bolted.
run with that though?
Yeah, but I knew that if I made it like 3 blocks down the street, there was like an area where cops tended to hang out, so I just started
Okay.
running in that direction.
That works.
But yeah, they were like over the course. I was shooting a time lapse, and it was like set up to go for 15 minutes maybe. And I got about 5 minutes in, and I looked behind me, and there was this guy standing like off to my right. And I was like,
Oh,
all right, that's a
that was-
little weird. That's a little creepy. And I just
Yeah.
kept doing my thing. And then like a minute later, I looked behind me, and there's
There's
like
a-
3 people
Oh
there.
my
And
God.
I'm like, all right, they could just be watching what I'm doing. They might just be like curious.
Right, and then what?
And then they started getting closer, and then 2 more came from the front,
What
and they
the
were all
hell?
walking him towards me, and I
That's
was like,
creepy, man.
all right, something's going on.
Right.
Like,
All right, now this is weird. Unfortunately, we didn't get to spend as much time as I would like to have at Seton Hall, But I remember you said you had to leave because of some medical reasons, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't really finish it on time. And, honestly, man, there's really nothing wrong with... Because, like, in a way, like, doing it all in 4 straight years is pretty overwhelming, There's a lot going on, and they make it seem like you have to or you should finish it in 4 years, but like I feel like people should just finish it at their own pace, like because I would take sometimes like 6 classes a semester and it could be a little much,
Yeah.
But yeah, tell me like what happened, like why'd you have to go? Tell the people.
Like I've had a lot of issues my whole life, and I didn't really know it until around that time frame. Like I always knew I was kind of like different, but everybody's different, so you don't think too much about that. And like I had ADD growing up, and that was a struggle, but it was never really like something I couldn't conquer without medication or anything. Like I was fine. Like I could get through school. I got into Seton Hall. Like I obviously did all right, but once I got to Seton Hall the first time, I got there in September of 2008, and my best friend, who was more of a brother to me, like we knew each other since we were knee high to a duck, and like we spent every moment together. And we went to separate schools, and he was pledging for a fraternity, and they forced him to drink an entire bottle of alcohol or something like that. We don't know the full story. Nobody will talk. But he died because they put him on the third floor. Yeah, they put him on the third floor of the house and just left him alone, and he died from alcohol poisoning.
Like while they were fucking partying downstairs? Like
Yeah. Oh, it was ridiculous. When the cops came, when the ambulance came, because they called 911 eventually when they found him.
Yeah, like...
First off,
fucking day.
out of all the guys who owned the house, they had one of the girls that was at the party call the cops because they didn't want to do it. And when the paramedics showed up, they tried to tell them they couldn't come in without a warrant, even though paramedics don't need a fucking warrant. Like, these kids were fucking
that doesn't
idiots.
make sense.
I hope they all fucking suffer tremendously for the rest of their lives.
I mean, are they in jail right now?
No.
No?
Yeah, they all got off.
Wow.
It's because nobody talked. Nobody who was there would say what happened.
Right.
And, that really fucked with me because this was my brother, this was somebody who I expected to be with me my whole life.
Right.
And he was gone. And it was traumatic as fuck. And I tried to continue going to school, and I was commuting to Seton Hall at the time, driving an hour and 15 minutes every day to get there. And
I didn't realize you were that far.
It got to the point where I was getting panic attacks and like leaving classes and just driving all the way home. And I started doing drugs and like fucking around with stupid shit, and I got hooked on opiates. So I had to get over that, and thankfully I'm on the other side of that. But I had to go to like rehab and stuff, and it wasn't like you go to California or Florida and you have a pool and everything. I was in like the psych ward of UMDNJ with legitimate psychotic people locked behind magnetic doors, only allowed outside for 15 minutes a day. Like, it was fucking traumatic.
I feel like that would make you more
No, that experience,
more stress being around like all those people.
That experience honestly solidified my opinion that I never wanted to do any drug again that could create any kind of dependency.
Right.
And I don't, and I haven't since then.
Good.
I don't fuck with things that can kill you or like destroy your life.
Speaking about opiates, we have this huge problem going on right now. I mean, it's been
a problem since I was doing it then. I mean,
right.
One of my best friends from the time.
Staten Island, it's bad.
One of my best friends from the time, the kid that I was with every day during addiction, we both tried to get help. I came out the other side, and he came out and died.
That's crazy.
Like,
yeah.
It in my hometown, the amount of funerals that have had been carried out for children because they couldn't handle their fucking drugs. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, but that is what it is. And I got through it. I got on the other side. I tried doing the NA thing. I did that for like 2 years, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I really didn't jive with that type of program. I had to prove to myself that they're kind of wrong because they think that any recovering addict is going to always be an addict and therefore cannot have things like a beer without going out and using. And obviously, as you saw last night, I can definitely have a beer without saying, hey, some pills would be nice.
It just shows
right now.
how much they really fucking know.
It's just that works for some people, don't get me wrong. Like, and for the people it works for, I'm glad it's there. But it did not work for me. I needed to live a normal life. I needed to be able to be in a situation where all my friends were drinking and I didn't feel like I had to go overboard.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, I couldn't live with the idea of never being able to have a drink with a friend or to take a girl out for a drink or something like that. Like, I am not an alcoholic. I've never had a problem with alcohol. It never made me want to do other things, and it doesn't. So I live my life accordingly. It's been 10 years. I haven't even thought about pills.
Good.
I don't. It's not a concern of mine. I just live my life and enjoy it and make the most of it because I almost didn't have it. You know? So, you know.
I'm glad you're here, man.
Me too. Me too. And, you know,
It's a shame because not a lot of people, you know, like I said, you know, a lot of people on Staten Island, I don't know why Staten Island. It used to be one of the worst in the country. I remember, I think Gabriel was telling us last night.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was like the worst in the country at some point, but you know, even now there's heroin addiction here too, and it sucks. You know, it blows. We even have along Staten Island, we have a lot of yellow. I'm not sure if you saw them, but there's like these yellow posters, maybe on people's lawns sometimes or outside of business, and it just says "Stop Drug Abuse, Staten Island Hope" or something like that. You know.
Yeah.
'Cause it's bad here, and it was always, you know, it sucks. I never really knew any friends personally here that had the issue, you know what I mean, fortunately. Because, like, you know, even being around it could, like, you know, I don't want to say, like, tempting, but, like,
the amount of people I
was never around it, really, like, you know, so I never was...
Well, that's the thing, is, like, a lot of people think it's like, oh, you just want to get, like, you wanted to get high, and, like, you liked it so much you threw away your life, and that's not really how it works. Like, for me, it was a long road that led to that point. You know, I played hockey as a kid, and every injury that I had, I was prescribed opiate painkillers because doctors were under the assumption that they didn't have high addictive potential because they were marketed as non-addictive, and they were financially enticed to push them instead of other alternatives.
Right.
So I had these drugs ever since I was a kid, and therefore I was under the impression that they were safe. Like, at the time that I was going through this, there wasn't a blatant connection between opiate painkillers and heroin. Like, yes, they're the same thing and they always have been, but you know, when we were doing the pills, we didn't think that way. Like, that wasn't a common understanding until we got deep into addiction and we realized the pills were too expensive and started considering heroin. And, like, it's
not worth it.
No. And it, you know, what happened for me was, you know, I had this exposure that made me falsely believe these drugs were relatively safe as long as they were the pharmaceutical versions. And on top of that, I was in an extremely depressed state. I had lost the only person I thought that ever understood me. And I was looking for something. And I had a friend I hadn't seen since high school find me at a gas station one day, and he invited me to hang out, and I started hanging out with him all the time. And his brother was giving him opiate pills to sell, and so he would give me them every once in a while for free just to have, and we would do them together. And because of my experience with them before being non-addictive, to me at least, you know, I thought this was like, oh, you know, like, I'll just do this. It's not
like, once in a while it wouldn't be bad.
It's not going to be a big deal, you know, And then, like, within a week, we were doing them basically every day, and it happens quick. And
it's not your fault, though.
By the time you're doing them,
it's hard to cope with, you know, a loss. You know.
Absolutely.
I know all about it.
And I mean, I think a part of me wanted to die. Like, I think somewhere deep down inside, I was like, I have nothing that I want to be here for now. You know, like, all this shit I had planned is done. You know, so, like, there was a part of me that was like, this is kind of like, you know, I might as well fuck off. You know, and I wasn't actively thinking that way, but in hindsight, like, the things I was doing, I had to just not give a shit at all, and it, you know, like, that'll do that to you. You know, you have everything ripped away from you, and see how fast you fucking tumble. You know, and that, you know, people don't get it. It's not like, oh, I wanted to have fun, and this is how I'm having fun. Like, this is a good time. Like, the entire time I was addicted to this shit. We spent every single day, the two of us, sitting there getting high and saying, you know, if we could just 3 days, if we could make it through 3 days of withdrawal, we would be fine, we wouldn't need it anymore. And we couldn't make it 12 hours. You know, like, that's how shitty you feel. Like, it literally makes you feel like you're dying if you don't have it in your system.
Mm-hmm.
So it no longer becomes about getting high. You're not getting high.
Like
it becomes about, I just need to function.
Right.
You know, like, I just need to be able to move without feeling like shit. So it's just this deep cycle of destruction. And to escape it takes the willpower of an insane person. Like, I was lucky with what happened to me, and it wasn't, like, I know I talked earlier about the rehab stuff, but that came after, and, you know, like, people don't know this, but there's a history of research that psychedelics help with addictive behavior, and in 2010, at the height of my addiction, I went to a concert that was all day. It was from, like, 1 in the afternoon to sunrise the next morning.
Yeah.
And my favorite band was playing from 1 a.m. to sunrise, and I was like, I'm going to go to that. And I thought I had enough pills with me to make it through the whole show, right? And make it home. Well, I didn't. And they had tight security, so I didn't think I'd get everything in, so I ditched it all before we got in. And I was like, well, now you're fucked. You're going to get dope sick while you're here. You're going to be withdrawing while you're here, and it's going to suck. So we went to the area in the venue where all the people were selling drugs, and I took 5 hits of LSD. And I was very seasoned with that kind of thing at the time, so like I knew exactly what I was in for. But this trip was different, and you know, I basically, like, we all were by the main stage, and I remember the concert. I remember the music. I have one of the sets on my phone that I listen to all the time. But I remember I was standing there and just standing still. I wasn't dancing or anything, and I was just staring and analyzing my life. And I was thinking about the things I had been doing over the past 2 years and how close I was to just losing everything. And I realized if I kept going down that path, I would die. Like, there was no way around it. That was going to be the end for me, and I didn't want that. Nobody wants that. I mean, everybody wants to escape this shit, and I hate that people don't understand that. Nobody is enjoying this. And, you know, I just was tired of waking up wanting to die, and the trip showed me how tired of that I was and how serious it was. I got home from the festival, and the whole way there I was sick, and my friend AJ, one of my best friends, love him to death. He really pulled through for me. We had just been at an all-night festival, and he wanted to rest, but he saw what I was going through, and he got me home quick.
Good.
And I stayed in my house for like 3 days. I didn't sleep. I was hallucinating from the withdrawals and lack of sleep. And I remember...
I can imagine how that's like, you know.
Yeah, and I remember one night I was just shot out from no sleep. I was literally seeing shit. And I'm laying in my bed trying to go to sleep, and I had this router on my wall with blinking lights. And the lights came out of the wall and like flowed across the room, and they went right next to my bed really? Where Brett used to sleep when he slept over.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he was sitting there on the floor like this, and he was obviously upset, and he told me, he was like, I can't believe you've been doing this shit, like you're gonna kill yourself, like you need help, like you can't do this alone, like you need help. And so the next day I took my parents aside and I said, like, listen, this is what I've been... You
actually, like, kind of saw him like that, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
it's almost like you're dreaming at the same time, too, when that stuff happens, right?
Yeah. Well, when you haven't slept in multiple days, you're literally hallucinating.
Yeah.
And
but I don't think those things... Like, that just can't be a coincidence when stuff like that happens, you know? I think...
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
The next day I told my parents...
That's pretty nice.
I told them everything I'd been doing, and it was, no questions asked.
Like
they took me to get help, and I did, and I was good, and I was good for a few years, and so, like, I was planning on going back to school, and I was getting ready to, and then my dad passed away, and I was like, I'm not doing this again, like I'm not letting this send me off the deep end, so like I can't allow myself to get too emotional about this and everything. And so I didn't, and I got through it, and I decided the best way to go through it would be to push forward and go back to college, because I know my dad would be proud of me if I finished school.
He would, man.
And so I went back to Seton Hall, and that's where I met you. And, for a while I was stable there. I was seeing this girl that was a little out of her fucking mind. And,
wait, a student there, or like?
No, she was someone I knew from my hometown.
Oh, okay.
And, it was funny because she was studying to get her master's in psychology, and she was probably the most psychotic person I ever met in my life. And
kind of ironic, huh?
Yeah, and she put me through hell, and I'm sure she thinks I did the same to her, so, whatever. But, yeah, so I was dealing with that at the time, and she broke up with me, and I was actually kind of relieved, because, well, no, I think I broke up with her because she punched me in the face and I left. So,
really? Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
so I don't know how that one counts or how that one works out, but we broke up would be the point. And so that was a relief, and I started focusing more on music at the time and doing cool shit at school. And I started I started having like a manic episode, and it was pretty bad. Like I was like staying up till 4 a.m. every night and going to class at 8 a.m. I was like spending all night reading these like dark web conspiracy theories on like everything, like, and that was, while they were very interesting, in that state of mind you believe more than you probably should, and it made me very paranoid, and this episode lasted for a little bit, so I like it basically. The apex of it was when I decided to drive my car around all night, and I didn't pay attention to the gas needle, and I was driving all over New Jersey, and like I was literally, in my mind, I was like, all these roads connect to everywhere, like if I just keep going this way I'll end up where I want to go, that kind of shit. And it was just stupid shit, and I was like, I ended up somewhere by fucking Trump's golf course, and
where?
I forget the name of it. Yeah, in Jersey. And, I ended up
places.
I ended up over there, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I, like, figured out my way home from there, and I figured out my way home from there and started to go that way. Yeah. And then my car ran out of gas, so I left it on the side of the highway, and I slept in it all night.
I see.
And, long story short, that was a very manic episode, and it turns out I'm bipolar, and I had to go into a facility again to be put on medication and monitored so that they knew the medication was working, and that was a shit show, because I went in there, and they were playing games, man. They gave me a medication.
It's like The Cure for Wellness. You ever saw that movie?
No, but like they put me in there, and basically, again, I'm with all these psychotic people, and like also people with drug problems and stuff, like totally unrelated disorders to what I'm dealing with, and I have to go to group therapy with these people. I have to spend like recreational time with these people, and some of them are like violent, and it's like scary. And they were taking they took this one girl, she had like very, very little, like she had stuff going on, but it wasn't like crazy. Like, I think, honestly, at the time, I was worse off than her, and they forced her to go to shock therapy.
Shock therapy?
And she would come back every single time traumatized.
Oh, my God.
Traumatized. She was begging to be released. Her parents would come in, and she'd be crying the whole time, begging them to get her out of there. Like, mental health in this country is a joke, dude. They have no idea what they're doing. It's an experiment. It's all experiments. They say, hey, this might work. Try this. We don't really know. And I got lucky. The medication they put me on actually worked that time. But the time before that, when they put me on medication, I was a zombie for like 7 months.
That's actually something I wanted to talk about. Because, you and that girl, you have these stories, and I feel like so do millions of others in this country too. And do you feel like mental health has been the cause of most mass shootings that have happened, especially the recent ones? Two happened within 24 hours.
Without a doubt, it's a factor because honestly, like, you have to be fucked up to think it's okay to take the life of another person. The only exceptions to this are life and death situations and war. And honestly, if you want me to be completely candid, I think that's fucked up too.
Yeah.
So, regardless, my opinion is, if you kill someone and you're able to be okay with that and it doesn't bother you, so you're probably fucked up.
Yeah.
And like, I'm kind of being a dick about it, saying these people are fucked up, because I wouldn't appreciate someone looking at me with my issues and saying that I'm fucked up. But like, if you're gonna kill somebody, if you're gonna take somebody's life, you're fucked up. And like, these people, they definitely have unchecked mental health issues, because we live in a country where, you know, mental health has a stigma around it. You know, I literally was just in a relationship with a girl. She was, you know, completely stressed out all the time, and she was having a hard time dealing with her life. And I told her, I was like, you know, I think you would benefit from going to therapy. And she was insulted.
Really?
And it's like, there's nothing insulting about fleshing out what's going on in your life with somebody else, with a independent third party who actually understands the human mind. You know, like, there's nothing insulting about that. And if we got rid of that idea, more people would be open to it, and maybe some of these people would have been prevented from acting in this way. Like, these people are writing manifestos and shit about, like, that are just basically batshit insane.
Right.
And, you know, it's basically their parents looked at what they were going through and said, I don't want to have him marked for life. You know, like, I don't want to take him to get help. You know, like, oh, it's not that bad, because it's not that bad until it is that bad.
Right.
I mean, the same thing happened with me. I didn't know I was bipolar until I was 22 years old.
Well,
all right?
Yeah.
There was so much shit that I now understand I did because I was having episodes, but at the time it was like, you know, like, I needed help, and my parents.
There's nothing shameful about taking medication.
Yeah, no, nothing wrong with that at all, and I'll get into that in a second. Yeah. But my parents, you know, they didn't want to admit to themselves that something was off about me.
Right.
You know, they didn't want to accept that one of their children had something wrong with them, and then as it turns out, all three of us do.
Really?
So, you know, like, that was a bad approach to take, and, you know, there are millions of families
it always starts at home too, I feel like, you know.
And there are millions of families in this country who are neglecting their relatives' mental health issues because they're uncomfortable facing the truth. And the people who are uncomfortable facing the truth are the ones who end up basically having all this bottled up bullshit that they've never been able to get out, and they snap. They literally snap.
Do you think it's like a coincidence that most of these shooters kind of seem to be like the same person, you know, socially awkward, don't have too many friends? They tend to be white males too, and they're kind of young, and I don't know, it just seems a little weird that it's...
They're outcasts. They're usually outcasts. Yeah. And they're usually the people that have had others snub their noses at them all their lives, or they feel like they've been... like, their life has been negatively affected by
like they feel no one cares about
people.
them, I guess, you know.
Like, they feel like they feel like an entire group of people is responsible for their suffering, and, you know, the reason
to target a specific race too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And
they always
feel like
racist, which I don't understand.
I feel like the reason we see mostly like white nerdy ass males doing this shit is because, you know, white kids, white guys who get picked on tend to be the types who feel entitled. Like,
right.
You know, I should have a better life. They think that there's a certain life they should be living, and they think that they're being denied access to that life.
Yeah.
And so they think,
if everyone else is happy, basically, if they can't be happy, then no one else should be. They kind of have that mindset. So that's why, like, it's a lot of them have actually happened at concerts or like social, like at an event, like at a bar, kind of places where you're out, maybe just out with friends, out being just living, out living. A mall.
9 times out of 10, there's some hate of some kind driving the force, being the driving force behind it, and that's what it is. It's hate, and hate itself is a disease. If you have something against an entire group of people, you know what the problem is? You. Like, that's it. That's 100%. The answer. Yeah. That's the answer. Like, if you look at an entire class of people, an entire race of people, an entire sect of people, an entire, like, group, and say they're a problem, you've got it backwards. And these people need help.
And it's not video games, Trump.
Yeah, it's not video games. We've already had studies done on that. We've already played that game. I mean, it was Marilyn Manson first, right. Those arguments come out because they're the only ammunition that pro-NRA people have. It's the only thing they can jump to. The other thing is they try to say that, bad guys who want a gun will get a gun. They don't buy their guns legally. Well, that's bullshit. 74% of mass shootings since 1981 were with guns that were bought legally. What we need is a mental health check. We need a psych evaluation. You should have to go sit down with a licensed therapist.
That's why I never really wanted to blame it on guns.
It's not guns. It's the
person who pulls it.
It's not guns. It's people. But we do have a gun problem in this country. Yeah. There are way too many on the street. I was talking with a cop about this the other day. A cop, and he was like,
yeah,
I don't think most people should have a gun.
I feel like there's no reason for it.
And he told me,
unless you're like a hunter, you go hunting like once in a while.
He said assault weapons. He said assault weapons. If you want to own them, you should have to keep them locked up at a gun range because they're killing machines. They are not meant for anything else. And if you want to use them to shoot targets, that's fine. But you should have to keep them locked at a range under guard. And like, this is an opinion 100%. Of someone who worked as a police officer his whole life. Even pro-gun, exactly. Yeah. Even pro-gun people, some pro-gun people realize maybe we need to start doing something because the sheer number of guns on the street in the hands of people who probably should not have them is astronomical. I'm sorry, but like, you didn't take a class that showed you knew how to use that properly and maturely. Like, not every state requires that. Some do, so I'm sure somebody up in Massachusetts is like, I took a class for my license to carry. Well, yeah, you did, but, in fucking Minnesota you don't have to. Like, it's too lax. We have more regulations on driving nationwide than we do on killing machines. Cars kill people, but they weren't designed to kill people, and we have more regulations on that. That happen. Yeah, and we have more regulations on that. Right. All right. The reason we have no legislation that actually helps with this problem.
It's kind of like you said, because people don't know how to handle mental health, so they also don't know how to handle people. Well, it's also with mental health that have guns and they're killing people.
And I'm sure, like I just recommended that I think we should have a mental health evaluation before you can buy a gun.
Yeah,
and I absolutely do think that. But I guarantee there are people watching this video right now who are thinking, I'm not going to a therapist. Why the fuck do I need to go to a therapist? It's not that you need to go. It's that you should go. So that you understand what it's like. And not only that, but so that the government understands that you're not the type of person who's going to snap in 3 months and shoot up a Stop and Shop.
Yes.
All right. It's absolutely mental health related. Mental health needs to have a complete.
Just to make sure it's all in good hands. Just
exactly. Yeah. I'm sorry, but like, if you're the type of person who's so like pro gun that you got to go outside and shoot into the sky and shit, I'm sorry, you're not mature enough to own a weapon. You're not.
I agree.
Like you're not. And if you think guns are a fucking toy, you're not mature enough to own a weapon. And there are too many people out there like that who do own guns.
Right.
And the problem is we can't take those away. That is an infringement of the Second Amendment. We're not trying to take guns away from people who legally already have them. But what we need is regulations going forward to keep them out of the hands of people who really shouldn't. Like, I'm bipolar, so in some states, I can't get a gun.
Okay.
Alright, some states, they do have mental health regulations around guns. But, here's the thing. Technically, I can. Because the only way the state knows if you're bipolar is if you've been involuntarily institutionalized by the state. Like, legally forced into an institution by the state. That's the only way they know that you have that condition and that they can keep you from getting a gun. So technically, when I go back to Massachusetts tomorrow, I could apply for a firearms ID and
Wow.
I'd probably get it. Alright, so...
But if you were a more severe case and you same scenario where you haven't been like checked in like that, you know, you could still get it anywhere, even if you had a more serious bipolar. Like if it was worse, you know what I mean? If it was like seriously, I'm talking like Two-Faced Joker, you know what I mean?
Yeah, stop saying like, oh, I'm so bipolar when like you're being an idiot.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
There are people actually living with this shit, and then on top of that, like, I want people to understand like bipolar is not the scary disorder that the social idea makes it out to be. I am no more inclined to hurt somebody else than you are. I'm a pacifist. I would never harm another person physically, and like,
unless it was like for protection or something.
if I had to protect myself, that's
course.
another story. But you never know what you're gonna do in those situations until you're in them.
Yeah.
But like,
true.
I would never intentionally harm someone, and like, most people that I know that are bipolar are actually the more creative types. And if you do some research, you'll find that a lot of your favorite Hollywood actors, directors, writers, and stuff, some of them are bipolar, and you know, they don't go hurting people.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
it's not a bipolar thing. You know, like the people doing these things aren't snapping because they're bipolar. Bipolar is not like that. And like, these people are more in line with genuine psycho and sociopaths than anything else. And yeah, we need to figure out what to do about that.
You know, the thing that scares me the most is that I think most people that, you know, mass shooters, I think they're doing it not even just because like they're angry or they're just upset.
They snap.
I kind of think right,
they
but
literally
I
just snap.
No, I know, but I think they also do it because they like it. Like I think they like the feeling.
Well,
of,
they
like, killing
don't
people.
they don't know,
I don't know.
they don't know that they like it because they don't do a trial run.
Right, but
You
I'm
know,
just
like,
saying. Do you think
they think it's a solution
I don't
to
know.
their problem? They think that it'll send a message and change whatever affected them, but that's not what it does. It's just,
if they, well, you see, they always end up getting caught. Either that or they kill themselves, right? But do you think when they do get caught, do you think they're like, oh fuck, what did I just do? Like, I
no,
just killed
no,
people,
I don't.
you know?
I think they're that.
They have no remorse. Right?
I think they're that psychotic that they're literally like, yeah, that had to be done.
Right. You see, gotta,
Right.
yeah. You know what? Because you gotta think about it too. I mean, they don't just plan it overnight. Sometimes, like this kid actually with the El Paso Mall, he drove all the way from like hours and hours from another state to go to El Paso, and just go to a random. He just happened to go to that mall, and it's just crazy, man. You know, it's just sad thinking that people are just going about their typical day. It's a mall, you know?
Yep.
Just going to the mall, get some clothes, whatever, and then it's like we shouldn't have to be afraid to go places we would just generally go. Recently in Manhattan, there was a little scare. We're at the point where any little like sound now like could give people like a jump scare, like a heart attack. Because what was it? It was Times Square, motorcycle backfire went off, right? And you know, it's kind of loud, and people thought it sounded like a gunshot. And for like maybe a good 10 minutes, maybe a little longer, people were panicking because they thought it was a mass shooter, you know? And it's like, that's awful. And imagine like a big area like Times Square. Now there's always cops there, right? Like always, you know? They even have like a precinct there, I think, a little station. Anyway.
They do. I have a good picture of it.
Right, but it's just, Now that is a very scary scenario because like a mall too, because like there's so many people, so you don't know where the gunfire is coming from, especially since it's so loud. But imagine like Times Square, like all the tall buildings, thousands of people.
Well, it's like Mandalay Bay.
It's like where do you go? You know,
it's like the Mandalay Bay thing.
If it really did happen, it's
like the Mandalay Bay thing in Vegas. They didn't know where the shots were coming from at first.
Yes,
they had no clue, and
he
got so many people because of that.
Right.
You know,
and he was shooting from far away, like
Yeah.
this hotel, like all the way, like how many floors up?
I don't know.
That
I
was
forget.
sickening, man. That guy, fuck that guy, man.
We still don't know why he did that. You know, and
No, that's the problem because they kill themselves and then they don't figure it out. And
I
you
hate
can't question them.
I'm sure he left some kind of reasoning behind, and that they didn't report on it
How they
for whatever
plan these
reason, and that bothers me because
I know.
we need to know why these things are happening.
Right.
We need to know what was going through their head, and I think there's more to that story than we'll ever know.
I think the only way this is ever going to end is just it's got to be a combined effort, you know, and like thoughts and prayers. Sorry, aren't going to work. I'm sorry for you religious people.
We need regulations. Which, by the way,
Yeah.
if you look at your Bill of Rights, regulation, well regulated, is literally a part of the Second Amendment. So shut the fuck up. All right, let's end it there.
wait, what? No, we'll do it close. All right, you know what? Fuck
that
you.
was actually
Good
like,
night. This has been actually anything.
That was actually like the perfect ending. Like,
Yo, Lars, I think we've covered a lot tonight, especially about mental health, and I really appreciate how honest you were today with me and the people watching, you know, this video right now.
I mean, absolutely. Anything about my story, I've always said, like, I wasn't gonna hide this shit. If it can help somebody out there, if somebody out there got something out of that, great. If you got the wrong things out of that,
It's all about
I'm sorry.
encouraging others to just, you know, there's pretty much more to life than, you know, like shit happens, right? I lost a friend too, and was it one of the worst days of my life when he died? Of course. He's my neighbor. He was my best friend. But I was able to not necessarily get through it. It's something like you said, it's not something you ever get over because it's not like you're losing a relative at an age where like they should be, you know, like 80, 90, whatever, 70. These were young people that still had a whole life ahead of them, and they should still be here. Maybe even sitting with us right now. You know? And it's just the fact that we don't get over it, but we try to still live our lives and cope with the fact that maybe we'll never see him again in this life, but there's still hope that somewhere, maybe, and if there is an afterlife, that we will see them again. And I feel like even you said there's sometimes you get signs that just seem too real, and it just can't be a coincidence, like that they're trying to tell us, don't be scared, don't be worried. I wouldn't want you to be, you know, live your life in turmoil because I'm not there, but because so they basically try to tell us that, you know, we will meet again, you know. And I think, I don't know, like with your friend Brett, do you feel like you just got, you know, signs that he just was still around, right? You know?
All the time.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just, I'm sure you guys have too. I'm sure you guys have loved and lost. It's just a part of life, and it sucks. But like you said, man, we get through it together, and I think it's the only way. And with this mental health issue, like you said, it's together, and we have to stop fighting. You know, it's like civil war, constant civil war. You know what I mean? So, my man, thank you for joining me tonight. I'm glad you made your last final stop in Staten Island. It's been a while since you've been back here. I gave him a little tour, you know, as much as I can. I think hopefully you had a pretty decent time.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
I loved it here.
Oh, hell yeah, baby. Shaolin. We're in Shaolin. Now you got a long ride back tomorrow, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So 11 a.m. your train at Penn Station?
Yep.
All right, man. I'm sure you got something to keep company, some music, some podcasts. You could listen to this Well, I'm probably not going to get it up by tomorrow. But you know, you'll find a way to like keep yourself busy. But you getting homesick yet, or?
Just miss my cat.
Yeah, your
miss
cat.
my cat. My cat's awesome.
What's his name again?
Shadow.
Shadow. Yeah.
He is my shadow. He follows me everywhere.
Yeah, literally.
I love him.
Definitely, man. You met Patty, my dog, today. You met him for the weekend. You know, that was cool.
One final message I just want to give to the people out there is, no matter what you're going through, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how impossible the future seems, find the things that bring you joy and put everything you have into them. Don't turn back and think about the things you've lost. Don't think about the things you don't have. Think about the things you do and hold on to them and don't let go. I mean, for me it was photography. It pulled me out and saved my life, and music has done the same for me all my life. But, find your thing. You don't have to create. Some people aren't creative, but like, find your hobby, find your people, find everything that brings you joy, and remember that that's what life is about. There will always be suffering, there will always be pain, but there will always be moments of joy in between. So don't ever give up. Always look forward to those moments. Find your peace. Keep it.
Thank you, guys. This has been Actually Anything. I'm Sean. This is my man Lars. Take it easy.